Sairam. So, continuation of Shunya Gita, part 2. In part 1, we had completed 5 assertions. Now, the 6th one. The 6th assertion of Shunya Gita says, sound occurred first. The first thing which emanated from Sakshi, the witness, was sound, Shabda. Through this philosophy, has to be understood that whatever emanated, manifested through a series of occurrences. This happened in a flow and in a pattern. Hence, it is called the theory of occurrence in this Shunya Gita. So, what it says is, first thing that occurred from witness, first came, there is nothing, Shunya. There is nothing. So it bifurcates nothingness, nothing and nothingness, and we go forward and it says there is something which occurred from that same nothing, which one philosophy says that it coexisted. However, we call it as something which emanated from that nothing is the witness, the Sakshi. Nothing is from which everything emanated till the 5th. So everything came from nothing. So if you go by the philosophy, last session we did discuss about when we get into the subatomic level, sub-matter level, which is below the matter, there is nothing. Shunya. So now come to the next, right? Sound occurred first. Now there are two things we need to understand in this assertion. Sound and occurred. This is a theory of occurrence. Everything occurred. There is always a conflict between theory of creation and theory of evolution. And we are leaning more towards a theory of evolution. We would say that we are not in the central path. We are not trying to blend a gap between try to bring a bridge between theory of theory of creation and theory of evolution. Creation is very clear. There is an old man in the sky called and place called heaven. He created everything. So there is no confusion. In theory of creation, there is absolutely no confusion. And they say that God was there, is there, will always be there. So they are quite sorted. They are very, very, very sorted, the believers of theory of creation. Now, theory of evolution is quite inconclusive in my humble opinion, because as Charles Darwin says, that from single cell creature, from an amoeba to porifera, to multi-cell creatures, water-bound, then amphibian, then surface-bound. So likewise, we progressed. That is how the theory of evolution is. This is what Charles Darwin says. But only question comes that everything is even to this day existing parallelly. The single-cell creature is also there. And billions of cells creature is also there. So there is a little bit of confusion there. Seems to be inconclusive, and also there is one thing called missing link of Charles Darwin's theory. So it is again a theory. So both creation is not something which is acceptable for an intellectual mind, a mind which is trying to reason out theory of creation. There will be some more questions of theory of evolution also. What is evolution? To evolve from one form to another, progress. evolve. So when you progress and evolve from one form to another, the previous form ceases to exist. So, but in this situation that we are, an amoeba is still there, a human being is also still there. Parallelly, it is existing. So, the theory of evolution is something which we have to dive deep into, but science may have some more logical questions, answers, sorry, but we don't know. Still not clear. And the biggest missing link is the missing link itself. So it is both are inconclusive. So we Avadhutas who dive deep into every subject, we try to get into the depth of it. So theory of evolution is also not very convincing. However, we are leaning towards theory of evolution than theory of creation. We'll come to that why later. Now, this theory of occurrence is something which is believable because everything in this world is transcending. Nothing is consistent. Everything is changing at every fraction of a second. Every smallest amount of measure, there is a consistency. Consistency is change. Change is the only consistent thing which is happening in this world. So when everything is happening, what is that we call that everything is consistently happening is consistently occurring. Forget about the time machine. We as Homo sapiens are growing old. From our infancy till where we are now and where we are going to be in the next a month, a year, a decade. So this is all happening. You cannot consciously stop it, nor we can accelerate it, nor we can delay it. Everything is consistently happening. That very consistency in occurrence is called theory of occurrence, which is brought to the world by Avadhutas of Saipanthis. Theory of occurrence. We go by that philosophy. That is very logically convincing. I wouldn't use the word scientifically, logically convincing. And here, the next thing within this one assertion, there are two things. Here it also goes on to say that it is first thing that occurred was the sound. Sound occurred first, which is believable because even science says between energy and sound, of course, energy can neither be created nor be destroyed. We all know that. Science says that. Even energy is transcending. Everything is transcending. However, the science very clearly says if there is a beginning of energy, and what is it that predates energy? Sound. In other words, what science says is sound is the source of energy. With sound, the energy is created. That is exactly what we are also saying. We also are saying that the whole creation or whole evolution depends on the theory of occurrence, which the theory of occurrence completely depends on the first thing which emanated from the Sakshi was the sound, which is Shabda. That sound is the source of energy, which even the science says, that's what Avadhuta Gita says, that's what we are saying, right? We move to the next assertion. The sound which occurred was, I'm reciting, it is Please let us rest our, mispronunciation. It is not Om. Please, it is not Om. It is Aum. It is A-U-M. It is not O-M. Let's be very clear about it. It is Aum, Aum, Aum. It is not Om, Om, Om. It is wrong, right? So the sound which occurred was Aum. This Omkara means the sound called the Aum, is the same humming sound which is present in the space and in the universe to this day. This Aum shall remain as long as the universe exists. The same Aum has been said in several ways and manners, including Shalom, Ekonkar, Omen, Amin, all stating the same primordial sound. Now, Aum, is it a mantra? What is a mantra? Mantra is nothing but a seed syllable, right? Bijakshara. It is not a mantra. Seed syllable is Bijakshara. The first one, Adi Bijakshara, is Aum. The same Aum, it's nothing to do with Sanatana Dharma or Hindu Dharma. It has nothing to do with any religion for that matter. It has nothing to do with religion. Aum, it has nothing to do with religion. It is just a sound of the universe. When you hear the sound in the space, what you hear is the same humming sound. That humming sound is called Aum. It hums like hum, hum, hum. That is Omkara. It has no religion or it has nothing that religious about. It is just a sound. And that is a primordial sound. The first sound, the humming sound, was the first one to occur from the witness. So it also goes on to say that same thing, since it is just a sound and it is spelt as AUM, the same thing is in different regions of the world as Shalom, Omkar, and Om, and Amin, and whatever. So that's what the Shunya Gita says. Here, Shunya Gita, foundation and basis is always Avadhuta Gita. However, certain correlations and certain tenets from different religious scriptures and belief systems, we have taken threads and added here, right? We move on. It's that Om which took a pattern. The primordial Shabda, that is the first, Adi, Bijakshara. The primordial Shabda took a pattern of separating into three different occurrences. It is divided into three different sounds. Within the Adi Bijakshara, the first seed syllable, which is Aum, is Adi Bijakshara. Adi means the first, the origin. Bijakshara is seed syllable. That is Aum. So it says that if we are talking about it with stretched expression or recitation of this Omkara, when you stretch it, and it exactly sounds like the sound of the universe or sound in the space, which is this is how the sound is, that is U, Ma. That is how when you stretch the Omkara, it becomes elongated and you will exactly hear this sound in the space or in the universe recorded by NASA, right? So what Shunya Gita says is, this took a pattern. See, the first is the humming sound called the Aum. That divided into three. Sound, seed syllable, has three subdivisions in it. That is A, U, Ma. That is what Shunya Gita is trying to say, that the seed syllable divided itself into three. That took a pattern, right? When it is divided and said consistently from the beginning till the end, and then beginning and till the end, like it begins it, Aum, Aum, Aum. That Aum and continuation became a pattern. That is what Shunya Gita is talking about. Now the pattern started revolving. The ninth assertion we are coming to, the pattern started revolving. That the pattern which occurred started revolving. The seeker needs to understand here that the first instance of creation occurred from Aum. The truth is Aum. The creation is also a series of occurrences. The reason for the existence of the universe is this revolution of the primordial supreme sound, the Shabda called the Aum. So what happens? The whole universe, if we see, it is space, complete space. In space, there are multiple universes. And we come down, there are Milky Ways. So when you come to that, what you see, everything is revolving. The revolution, the revolving pattern, the pattern took it started revolving. That is the cause of energy. The consistent rotation of that sound. That consistent rotation of the sound, which was a pattern that started revolving within, not just one place, multiple places. That rotation, even to this day, Earth revolves on its own axis. Every planet revolves on its own axis as well as around Sun. The whole Milky Way, if you say, is revolving. If you see the whole Milky Way is nothing but the universe, if you see, it's nothing but like the yin yang which we see. It's that circular motion consistently rotating from left to right. The clock also rotates from left to right. That same rotation that occurred, right? So we start from the Sakshi, the sixth assertion. I'll run through. Sound occurred first. First thing that occurred was sound. Then came the sound which occurred was Aum. It's that Aum which took a pattern. Aum, Aum, Aum. That was the pattern. The pattern started revolving. As I just mentioned, everything in the universe is revolving. It is revolving consistently. So that is the cause of, they say, if we go by creation, yes. That is the cause of, by science, if you go theory of evolution, yes. The cause of anything and everything which you see is the revolving. The one which consistently revolves. And sound is the source of energy. If we have to believe that energy also emanated from something, the source of energy is always sound. That's what the science also has said. That's what even the Avadhuta Gita is saying. Sorry, even Shunya Gita is saying. So we move to the 10th assertion. The revolving was within the sound that occurred. The revolving happened within the sound, which created a pattern called the Aum. It also caused the origin of time. Origin, when the first humming of Aum or Aum occurred, that is when the time occurred. From the first occurrence of the humming to where we are now, that measure is time. The seeker needs to understand the beginning of everything and most importantly, the beginning of time. Now, what is time? Here it is talking about where that time, this 10th assertion is talking about when did the time begin. There is something which we all understand. Time is something which is a measure. In reality, there is nothing called time because we believe in the philosophy of nothingness. However, a measure which was created, a measure which occurred, the creation of measure is ours, Homo sapiens. That is the time, the calendar we talk about, BC, AD, whatever, we have so many measures that we are talking about. Here, this 10th assertion does not talk about the time, the measure which we have created. No. What it says is the revolving, the time occurred right at the beginning when the revolving of this seed syllable started. Because the time that we have created, whether it is, see, for example, Georgian calendar has 365 days. Panchangas of Sanatana Dharma has a different number of days for a year. Jewish calendar is different. Chinese calendar is different. Persian calendar or Abrahamic religion calendars are different. Persian calendar is totally different. So the measure is something which we have made for our convenience. That is not the time which Shunya Gita is talking about. 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning, 8, that clockwise. No, that is not what time, that is not what Shunya Gita is referring to. Here, what it is referring to is, in Sanskrit, we call it as Kala. Kala. Kala means not the time, it is a series of occurrences. We call it as Kalaya Tasmai Namaha. We salute the Kala. I salute the Kala. I am trying to dig out a transliteration for the word Kala. It's not time, that which the English language talks about. Or that is called Samaya. Samaya is what we talk about as time. Kala is different. Kala is the beginning, the first sound when it started rotating. The Omkara, the seed syllable, when it started rotating on its own axis, that that when it started rotating on its own self, within that one seed syllable, that is the time we are talking about. That is the Kala we are talking about. That is the beginning of series of occurrences for billions of years. Billions of years. That beginning and the series of occurrences that is happening one after another, another after another, after another, that sequence, the controlling or that reference to that sequence is what we are calling as Kala, the time. That time is what we are referring to. And that occurred the moment this seed syllable started revolving on its own axis. Om. It's not linear. It's a rotation. It is never linear. It's never spread this way. The frequency is not that way. You can look at it that way. It can remain that way also. You can interpret it that way also, but it is always the revolving, the resolution within, right? That is what we are referring to in this. The revolving was within the sound that occurred. Then the assertion number 11. We'll complete this Omkara and then take a break. The assertion number 11, it says, the pattern in which sound revolved was which is already mentioned several times. The pattern of Om represents the beginning, the preserving, and the destruction. The theory of three principles. Everything occurs, pervades, and gets destroyed, and this pattern repeats itself. When we look at this Om, it, as I just mentioned, it is a measure, the Kala begins once the Omkara starts rotating. Those are divided into Uma, the creation of, the preservation of, the disruption. I would choose the word disruption. Ma. So when before without the disruption, there is no beginning. Without the beginning, there is no disruption. So the rotation happened within. That Uma, when it started rotating itself, that is where the beginning was always and it preserved and sustained for a while, that is and then it came to an end, which we call it as destruction or disruption, which is Ma. And then again it begins as Ma. That rotation of that sound in the universe is so consistent, it begins, sustains and ends. It begins, sustains and ends. Even that sound begins, sustains and ends. If you see the spacecrafts that send the signals, it only goes on to say it begins, sustains, and ends. It begins, sustains, and ends. The beginning, sustenance, and end, the three theories came into existence through this word called Om. So that is the source and the base of everything. Everything depends on that rotation. So which even talks about stands for the beginning or the creation or the occurrence. U stands for sustenance, preservation. Ma stands for end, disruption, destruction. Again, Ma. Again, Uma. The way it started, eternal. The law of eternity is found here. It never ends. What is tangible never ends. It's always is transient. It's changing its form. It's moving from one to another. Even if it means that it is revolving from on its own, again it begins, sustains, ends, begins, sustains, and ends. That is the whole theory of occurrence, right? Now we move to the next, which is the revolving sound created energy, right? We'll take a small break and then continue from the 12th assertion. We have completed 11 assertions so far. Sairams.